The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Big round of NRL has been unfolding. We've got some good games to come as well. And James Sully Sullivan, he's got his Dolphins on top of the ladder. G'day, Sul.
Happy Easter, boys. How are we?
Good on you.
The Dolphins they were swimmingly beautiful last night, as you said. But I know who was hopping about Friday, and it was the Rabbitohs finally with a win. It's funny, you know, Marty and Brad. And good morning, listeners, and I hope everyone is having a lovely start to Easter Sunday. We looked at the round, and I must admit I looked at it on Tuesday early doors, and I went, oh, dear. It's a tough round, and we knew it would be. There'd be some upsets. We had two. For me personally, I saw some sides over the weekend that I don't think can make the 8, and it's round 4. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Good. That's what we want.
It is, Marty, and I really do. I mean that. I looked at some of the games yesterday and Friday in particular, and I thought, well, I don't think those sides can make the 8. But what it does, though, it makes it a beautifully, well-adjusted and a tough round, and that's what it's turned out to be. Been plenty of upsets.
Well, it wasn't an upset, but geez, the Queensland Derby between Broncos and Cowboys was a one-act affair.
Well, it turned out, Brad, didn't it? And probably a little bit. Well, for me, I like the Cowboys what they've done early, but then when you go back and you look and you think, well, geez, they've leaked some points in those opening rounds. The Broncos haven't been awful. No Reece Walsh. I think a lot of people me in particular, were turned off the Broncos because of that. But mate, Adam Reynolds says, hey, don't forget the old boy. He just controlled it, kicking game, second to none. Cowboys just suffocated eventually, and, you know, it was all over at half-time. And what we saw, at the end of the day, it was a very good win for the Broncos in the case that it was life without Walsh. You know, he's not going to be there. Tristan Taylor came in and did a wonderful job at fullback. So, Broncos fans reasserted I needed that performance from the Broncos, Brad, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But,
sure.
I really did need that, and I thought, you know, they're back on the straight keel, and they'll charge towards that 8 spot.
I've got to say, you're a bit wishy-washy on Drive on Friday about them. I was a bit disappointed in your performance, but anyway, you can always put a bad one in every now and then.
Well, the Cowboys
don't owe him some money, Sully, do you?
Well, no, it was there for the Cowboys to win, and they let themselves down. And mate, I tell you what, Brad, and we're both a little bit closer to the town of Temora than what Marty is. Toddy Payton, people forget, the Cowboys coach he's Temora born and bred, you know, he's a Temora boy. And he said, well, our performance tonight, we wouldn't have beat the Temora Dragons.
Right. Yeah, well, there you go. Hey, let's go back. Roosters, Panthers, we need to talk about this match with the Panthers getting up, but it wasn't without its controversy.
Oh, terrible. Worst try of, you know, at the end of the day, the bunker lost the plot. Manu's tries a try every day of the week and, you know, just disallowed. And then they allow Penrith one in exactly the same scenario. So, you know, it makes you wonder. It's been around for so many years now and they still make mistakes. Just blows, you know, at the end of the day, it's still personal, you know, opinions, but, yeah, disgraceful. But Penrith did enough. The Roosters charged late. Not good enough. But to me, those two sides will be thereabouts at the end of the year.
Yeah, Dragons, too good for the Sea Eagles. And tell us a little bit about the Dolphins and the Titans, but certainly what would the spray have been like in the sheds for the Titans, from the coach?
Well, just before, the game before, the Sea Eagles, I think the spray from Anthony Seibold, the Sea Eagles coach, would have just been as good because, honestly, they were disgraceful. You got to respect the footy. You know, you got a side that's been beaten and had a lot of points scored against them the last few weeks, the Dragons. And, you know, they just kept turning the footy over and say, here, you want to keep playing? Terrell Sloan gets another double. What's he scored? 6 tries already this year? The young fullback from the Dragons. And as Anthony Seibold, you know, said after, he said, we've just got to be better than that. And then, Desi Hasler. Mate, you know he's lost now, Brad. He's lost 10 in a row as a coach, an NRL coach, because remember he was at Manly, and then left. Now he's lost the 3 in a row with the Titans, and that, mate, they got wooden spoon written all over them. You know, they've lost Tino Fa'asua Malawi for the year, their captain, and it just looks terrible. They were a rabble. You know, they led early, well and true, but then the Dolphins, Mate, he's got them going good, the Dolphins. I know they started last year very, very well, but all of a sudden you look at young Jack Bostock on the wing, he scored 2 good tries. And, mate, the Hammer, that origin period last year for the Hammer has just turned this kid into I know he came down from the Cowboys and now at the Dolphins playing in the centres. Mate, he's becoming a better footballer every time I watch him play. Sure. They're not far away, the Dolphins, to be honest.
Well, it's good because we were a bit concerned about them, weren't we? Because if you looked at them when they originally formed, you thought, yeah, it's a nice squad. It's a nice squad, but it's not going to take you anywhere. But he's a genius, Bennett.
He is, Brad, and it's interesting, Marty and Brad, you watch him at half-time yesterday. The game was still in the balance at half-time, and he's not a ranter. He's just walking around talking to each of his players individually, little things like that. And, Brad, it's so important to have these main players in footy, and we talk about in rugby league the spine. Well, mate, Jeremy Marshall-King is such an important member to that Dolphin side, the number 9. He's there. He controls things. They are a 10-point better side when he is in the team. So, yeah, just a little 1% I've noticed over the weekend.
Be fair to say that he's seen it all before. Wayne Bennett wouldn't be too much that surprises him, so that's why he'd be nice and cool and calm in a crisis or whenever. So what about today? These are good games. Your boys, the Warriors, $1.33. The Knights are $3.30. It's 8.5. Total points there, 40.5. And then the Sharks and Raiders, $1.62 against the Raiders, 233.5. And the total points, 41.5.
Yeah, it's it's a lovely little 3 games to finish the round. But as you say, that first one in New Zealand, who could ever forget? Well, Warriors fans won when they last met last year, 40-10. The Warriors too strong. They both got wins last week. One was more impressive than the other. The Warriors have been, I know I said first win, but the couple of losses before were against, pretty fair football teams. They got the victory snatched away from them against the Storm, of course, and then, Cronulla were too good for them over there. Knights last week, we can draw a line through the sand with the Storm as such. They beat an understrength Storm side at home, let's be totally honest. I like the Warriors today over there. It'll be another packed house that they just love going to watch their side at the moment. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, pretty handy when your first 2 fullbacks get injured, isn't it? And you turn around and look and go, oh, Roger, can you play fullback? Yeah, he won a Dally M as a fullback, so he'll slip into the sides. I do like the Warriors in game 1, lads. And as you say, this next game, a later kick-off, 6:15. This is an interesting clash. I see here this morning, Raiders have been backed in a little bit. Well, about 255 2 days ago into 230. I think they win. They won 9 of the last 10 against the Sharks. And, when you hear Elliot Whitehead, the captain of the Raiders, has been ruled out, and all of a sudden you go, okay, yeah, who can come into the side? Corey Horsburgh? Please. Hosking will start, Horsburgh off the bench. Sharks, too many injuries for me, lads, and I like the Raiders.
Okay, so Raiders to get that one done, and then the Monday game, the Eels are $1.47, Tigers are $2.65. The line there's 6.5.
Yeah, watch this space one. You've got to be careful. Parramatta Eels, be very, very careful, because the Tigers were good last week, and I know they scored 36 points, but it was the 6 points against that I was impressed with. They kept that Cronulla side to 6 points. So, no Mitchell Moses, as we know. Eels have won 9 of the last 11, but Eels fans will be reminded 2 years ago, on the same day, West Tigers won 21-20. I still like the Eels, though.
Okay, how are we going to make $1 out of all of this?
Well, just the head-to-head, guys, it is quite nice. Warriors, Raiders, Eels, $4.50.
That'll do us.
That's a nice little play. Today we'll have a little score a try any time, the 2 games. I've already mentioned him, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. And the fullback for the Raiders, Jordan Rapana, is playing his 200th game for the Raiders. So if we link them up, $7.20. And I'll tell you what, there's a little play Monday, lads. If you jump on Tab Touch, you get a lovely little special. But I'll leave that I can't say what it is, but jump on Tab Touch. I'm going Clint Gutherson to score the first try. Parramatta West Tigers. Now, he's listed at $11, but just have a little play.
Okay, well, you're giving us plenty to go on with. I'm a Warriors, Raiders, Eels, man. Put them all to win. What was that, $4? How much?
$4.50, mate. I think that's That's lovely, isn't it? That'll get you some dairy milk.
Take all the science out of it. We'll go that way. Hey, Sol, you enjoy the rest of this Easter round of NRL. I'm sure we've got some good games ahead of us.
Absolutely. And to everybody, to you and Brad and Sophie, everybody, all the families, have a wonderful day and just stay safe, eh?
Yeah, all the best. See you later, Sol.
Sully.
See you, Brady.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the After.
Racing, Sunset Fraser midfield showing speed was Get a Beer to lead early from Sunset Ali. Then followed by Panadero Thunder with Our Benson the Fence Barrio Beast. Sunset Fraser's well back but into clear running. Then followed by Sunset Hornet last. Off the back, Get a Beer leads by a length on Barrio Beast. The fence was Sunset Fraser. Then followed by Sunset Ali down the straight. Barrio Beast took the rails run, wins.
Well, there it is, the finish of the Good Friday Cup, and what a win to Barrio Beast. He knew where the fence was, he followed it home, and in a very rich race, Brad, I think I heard young Jess say the second richest 400-metre race in WA. Barrio Beast wins. His trainer's Lewis Clay joins us. A very good morning, Lewis, and happy Easter to you.
Good morning, boys. Happy Easter as well.
No doubt. That would have put a few Easter eggs on the table, that win. That was a ripper at $14.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, the Beast definitely deserves an Easter egg this morning. But yeah, no, it was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think would be a winning contention. I thought maybe a place at best. But yeah, what a run from him. And yeah, he's been a good dog for me, so can't be anything happier.
Lewis, Brad, mate, talk it up. I mean, what a hot race it was. You had an equal track record holder in it and all that sort of stuff. So it was a marvellous effort. Yeah,
there was just so many young dogs in there that are coming through, and they're showing so much potential. And he's been around for a long time. He's a veteran category now, but just so much talent in there, and obviously a lot of dogs that we thought they might break the track record on Friday night, and a lot of speed in the race, which he doesn't have, so it was all stacking up against him. But yeah, he got the right break at the right time, and on that first corner, if he gets through on that first corner, most weeks he can run a cheeky race. So I was so thrilled with it.
So the drop back in trip, was that a concern? Running in the 520s back to a 400?
For him?
Yeah.
Well, not really. No, he's obviously getting on in age and that, and since he had a bit of a major injury, I kind of elected to just stay at the 400 metres in the last few months. Keep him there and keep him sound, because if over 500 he does tire in the last probably 30 or 40 metres, he gets very, very, very tired. So, I just elected to drop back, and obviously it doesn't help his first split because he does get out the boxes as well, but he's got a big finish on him.
Lewis, obviously, you need an element of luck, lady luck in this caper, don't you? But his tractability and his race sense was enormous, because I was just worried. I watched the replay many times and I thought, if that 5 dog just rolls down, he probably almost puts him through the fence. It was just incredible how he held his nerve, and he was back second last there after about 50.
Yeah, he got squeezed up out the boxes, and then got another little check halfway down the straight, and I thought, oh no, there goes my chances. But no, to his credit, he just pushed up on the rail and followed the one dog through. And when the one dog ran off, he just snuck through enough to miss the 5 as well, like you said. So couldn't have timed it any better. I don't think.
That wasn't him in the background, son. Never in doubt, was it? I heard a dog barking in the background there.
Oh, yeah, that's them. They've just been let out in the morning, so, they're all up and about. And
they're out and about, yeah. Hey, Lewis, is that his normal racing pattern to get up along the fence?
Yeah. Anytime he draws the fence, he's normally a sneaky chance. He likes to sit on the fence and then wait for his run on that first corner, and then, if he gets clear air from there, he's got a good turn of foot, as you've seen, so...
Lewis, tell us about your story. There was a little birdie came across my desk, said you used to be a bit of a junior golfer. You used to pretty good, and then you tried your hand at this. How did that all come about?
I used to be all right. I'm not very good anymore. I don't play that. I still play once a week, but just chop it around. So, but still really enjoy it. It's good to get away from the dogs sometimes and go and play some golf, get your mind off it. But yeah, played a lot of junior golf and went and played around Australia a little bit and really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed golf and golf was my life. And had a little bit of a break from golf, out of golf mentally, just got me. So took a bit of time off and started seeing my grandfather down the track and giving him a bit of a hand. And next minute we've got dogs and kennels and it's all happening. So it kind of just all happened. Beautiful. But can't be any more happy with the decision.
No, it's a
besides the clubs, what's your handicap these days?
I'm playing off 6 now. It's pretty average. I got down
shuffling around at 6, Brad.
It's embarrassing sometimes. They laugh at me.
Okay. Now, so how's the eye? We've got the US Masters coming up. Have you got any golfers we should be following at odds?
No, I just think Scotty Scheffler's just playing too well, isn't he? Like he's just dominating the world. So it's going to be hard to go past him.
Yeah, no, he's certainly going to be one of the front runners. Just imagine if you had kept in it, Clay, you could have been part of Liv.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Would it ever?
But yeah,
you'd have a kennel then, boy.
Yeah. You'd have a few running around.
Went to Live last year in Adelaide. And
did you?
What an event that was.
Enjoy it?
That was unbelievable. Sorry?
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I would recommend it to anyone. You don't even have to be a golfer to enjoy that.
Yeah. So what about the grey now? Where's he going to next?
Well, we're actually on Friday night. He got a nice, decent spike in between his webbing there, so he'll have a couple of weeks off. I'll patch that up, and then just go back to the 400 metres. So, unless a Masters Open grade turns up because he's eligible for, we'll just keep battling around in these free for alls.
Okay, we got another dog from the kennel we can follow over the next week or two.
On Tuesday night, there's a lot of hard racing. Probably Kenya Refine will be my best chance, but wide draw doesn't help her.
So Kenya, what's the grey's name?
Refine. Kenya Refine.
Kenya Refine on Tuesday for our putters.
Yeah.
Beautifully done, Lewis.
Now, Clay, did you have a little bit on the fixed, or did you get the overs on the giddy go?
Nah, I didn't have anything on. Nah, the prize money's too good. No need.
Good on you. Well done, mate.
Yep.
All the best, Lewis.
All right, thank you very much. There
he is, Lewis Clay, after Barry O'Bee's got the money on Friday night. The Good Friday Cup down there. Well called, too, by young Jesse Earnshaw. I've got to say, Brad, working over the weekend and listening to our young broadcasters all around the state, gee, we've got a good bunch of young callers on the way through. Jess did a terrific job there Friday. Royce Newton up in Calgary. He's really starting to mature into his role now as a broadcaster on the goldfields, and he should have a terrific season up there. It was their first meeting of the year on Friday, on Good Friday. Had a good crowd, and the racing was terrific.
And don't forget young Richie Bell on Friday. He was good. I was watching those. That was good. I just noticed Barry O'Bee started $12 fixed and $19 on the go.
On the giddy,
so there you go.
And also Alex Vlahos, we've sung his praises plenty of times too over the journey since he's been calling the races. 28 away from 7 o'clock. You're listening to the Aftermath. Now, we've had a few technical issues with the phone, Brad. It was flat. But we found a phone charger in my car.
You found a battery.
Things are pretty tough around here, no phone chargers, but we're actually found one, and here we go. Watching the game, Adelaide v Melbourne, deep into the first quarter. This is Rusty Gates. He's a great thinker of the game. When the ball was kicked to the top of the square for Melbourne, Ben Brown ran to mark the ball, only to can it into Port Adelaide defender Alia, who was in a position to mark the ball, of which he did. Brown subsequently threw himself down to the ground, a dive Greg Laganis would have been proud of, and was awarded a free kick for blocking. I found that decision a bit bewildering and thought Alia was a victim of poor umpiring decision, which resulted in a goal to Melbourne. That's Rusty Gates.
Yeah, tick. And look, I think everybody we want respect for umpires, Marty, but it's hard at the moment. It's really hard. I've been in this game a long time, and I'm not sure I even know the rules anymore. The lack of holding the ball, incorrect disposal, blokes, boundary umpires throw them in because blokes running out in the stands.
Rioli again yesterday. He was a metre out.
And the goal umpires, they're becoming very frustrating too, mate. I know it's not an easy job, but how many times do you have to go upstairs when clearly the ball hasn't been touched or it's over the line or it's
becoming very frustrating.
Senseless.
25 away from 7, time for a break, and then Kris Nelson to talk about Sydney racing. What a day they had at Rose Hill yesterday.
And Will Waller's the deepest, 300 metres to run, and another Will given his head, and another Will went up to head off and more victorious. Then came Bandersnatch and Will Wall running on, but another Will's drawn 2. 3 lengths clear here in the Doncaster Printed. Backed off the map, good horse, keeps raising the bar, and another Will destroys them. Beating last year's winner Bandersnatch and Will Wall.
Oh, Bradley, it's a star, isn't it? Another Will, and a man who's going to talk about that race and many more on that program is Kris Nelson. A very good morning and happy Easter, Kris.
Yeah, good morning, Marty. Good morning, Brad. Happy Easter to you guys and happy Easter to all the listeners. I'm thinking that you might have backed that, Marty.
Oh, well, I may have had it running in a multi that didn't quite eventuate because the middle leg went down, but it didn't matter. What a win.
Yeah, he was just different gravy compared to those horses. He was outstanding. And he'll go off to the Doncaster, obviously, now. But, look, there's no way. And any of those horses that finish behind him will turn the tables, and that's 4 straight. And he keeps winning them by big margins. Just totally dominant. That's all you can say about another Will. He's a cracker. He's a ripper.
Well, Kris, the thing for me is that it's not unusual to see a horse lead and dominate and control. Okay. But when they sit outside the leader and do exactly that, it's not easy to do, is it?
No, not at all. When they breeze outside the leader, it's not an easy spot to be. I mean, it's worse at the trots than it is at the races, but it's not a great spot. So you've got to be a tough horse, and he obviously is that. He can sit basically anywhere. He's quite versatile. But, to do that and win as well as he did, and, look, run 33.97, I think was the final 600. He was faster than that, and he wasn't really being overly pushed along by Jamie Carr. I didn't think the final little bit there. So there's a lot left in the tank for next week.
These are his winning margins. He's won 5 races out of 7 in his career. He's won his first race at Maui by 5. He won at Sandown by 3.5. Caulfield by 3.25. Went to Flemington in an 84, won by 4.5, and then won that Doncaster Prelude hard held by 2.25. It just goes to show when you hear that term about being in a progressive horse going through its grades, I think this one ticks that box.
Yeah, he certainly does, Marty. He really does. And he's got that turn of foot, which we love to see. He can just put a gap in his rivals, and that's what he's been doing. So onward and upward, and hopefully he does it again next week.
Just before we leave that, just on next week, there's predictions of rain Tuesday through Saturday. Does that bring any others into contention, do you think?
Oh, I haven't had a good look through the form, but I have no doubt it will. They're looking at this stage, I think it was Thursday and Friday. I did see something about 10 minutes ago, and we're talking 50 mils plus. So whether that eventuates or not remains to be seen. But yes, it will, and it will definitely affect the way the races run. It will affect the track. Any bias, they'll probably get off the fence to the outside. That's what they normally do. So, yeah, I think it'll be a completely different race should we get that amount of rain.
I don't think it'll affect this horse. He's a street boss. He's won on a heavy 9.
Yeah.
So,
well, that'll help.
He won't worry about any rain.
Hey, Kris, going back to the Tulloch Stakes in race 4, I think they'll be stumping up, won't they, for Wymark? I don't think they thought it was going to be a bit of a stay, but gee, I think they might have one now.
44,000, I think, is the amount they have to stump up to get into the Derby. Why wouldn't you? He's won 4 straight. He really raised the bar yesterday. He sat off them. He gave them, I tipped about 8 lengths start, and he was still too strong. And he was holding them on the line quite comfortably, won by 0.8 of a length officially. Now, he has to go to another level next week. I mean, I don't think any of these horses would really be Derby contenders, the likes of Noisy Boy and Saltcoats and Kintyre, etc. So he goes up against the likes of maybe Riff Rocket and others, which is a different level altogether. Yep. But while you've got a horse in form and going as well as he is, why not have a crack? I mean, you're not going to lose, are you?
No, Tab Touch Market has Riff Rocket favourite 280, Tom Kitten 5, Hawk Gestrel. We'll talk about her next. 550, Zardozi 550, Chow Wolf for Pins in the Crew 750, Cape for Rat next at $13. So while you've got Riff Rocket at the top and Hawk Gestrel, who we're about to talk about now, you'd still be paying your 40-odd, wouldn't you, to have a crack at them?
I would. I mean, you're only going to get one shot at it. Yep. You'd have to do it. I mean, you've got 170,000 less some of the expenses there from yesterday. So you're well in front. And the horse has obviously got a future still and has been going really well. So when you're that far in front, you'd be crazy not to.
So what'd you make of Orchestral's win in the Vinery Stud Stakes?
Outstanding. I mean, she had to dig really deep to get past, and she did a terrific job. I thought Tuda La Vida was an unbelievable ride. It was typical Nashua Willa. Tried to pinch it and almost did, taking off there at about the 750, and Gee, halfway down the straight, I just sort of thought Orchestra was always going to get there, but as you got closer to the line, maybe not, and she did right on the line. So she's as tough as old boots, and look, 2,000 metres that was. She'll lap up 2,400 metres, whether she goes to the Derby or the Oaks. They haven't made a decision as yet, but, wow, she's a ripper. Zardozi, close up, every chance. But Tuta La Vida was just an outstanding ride, almost pinched it. But I'd love to see where Orchestral goes.
The Group 2 for the fillies and the mares, Alentia, it's been promising, hasn't it? You know, and gone around a couple of times short, but found its niche yesterday. And also, I thought Arctic Glamour was much better yesterday, and Macarena probably a little unlucky.
Yeah, Brad, I don't know why Alentia couldn't have done this in the last race at Rosehill last Saturday. I mean, she was there to do it, and she didn't, and she was just a completely different mare. I know, completely different mare yesterday. She sat off them probably 6 lengths away, and then when asked for the effort in the straight, Tommy Berry had a lap full of horse, and away she went, and she scored by, over 2.5 lengths. She was the only runner in the race to break 22 seconds her last 400. So that was a very good performance. As you mentioned, Arctic Glamour was much better. Macarena, well, look, there's been some talk around why Timmy Clark handed up. Well, he did, and he obviously did that in the best interest of the horse at the time. Got caught badly on the fence behind the tiring runner, and was probably a bit of a train wreck / horror story. So Alentia got the money. Whether Macarena would have beaten Alentia remains to be seen. But the way Alentia won, I don't know that she would have.
No, exactly.
Danny Williams has got a beauty in Bandy's boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, what a sweet moving horse.
Yeah, this goes to the country championship. I think it is next Saturday. I think that's next Saturday. Right over the top of Malkovich. How could you possibly try and catch Malkovich, who looked home and hosed halfway down the straight? This race was run quickly at both ends, so a quick overall time. Roots was good running on late near the inside rail. Gee, I thought there was a couple of disappointing efforts. Shinzo was disappointing. Zoo Tiger was disappointing. Libertad pulled up with issues. Hawaii 5-0 pulled up with issues. Vet issues for both, so they had excuses. The rest, not much you could say about them. Probably Roots and Bandy's boy, the best runs in the race. Malkovich was good, but you couldn't possibly be putting him in your black book, could you?
No, and McDonald got 4 days out of this suspension on Shinzo as well. A couple of earlier races want to talk about Serpentine. Hasn't he found the right trainer with Waterhouse and Bott over the 2,000 metres? Just fought back and worried Zayrek out of it again.
Yeah, if you're on Zayrek, you would have been counting your money for sure. He got past Serpentine, looked to have his measure, and then, as you say, Marty, that stable, they never give in from that stable, and that suits his racing pattern because he loves to bowl along and lead. He was headed, but he fought back strongly to beat off Zayrek, though. I'm not sure where he goes now, Serpentine. I don't think he's going towards the Sydney Cup. I think they find that, or suggest that's a bit too far for him. There was a good run in the race. Little Nix, she's a mare. She sat 3 wide, no cover the entire trip. She was beaten 2.28, and she was coming again on the line. Her effort was very good. She just missed third. I don't know where they go with her going forward. I'm not sure. They could go to the Chairman's or something like that, but it might be a bit too far for her. But I tell you what, she was terrific. She might be kept for the Brisbane Winter. We'll have to wait and see.
What did you make of the race 3, the babies? It looked the Quinella of the day, didn't it? A linebacker and a no linebacker where we weren't sure. They're coming up from in grade, and geez, they were tough, the pair of them. But the third horse flew home.
Yeah, third horse made ground, but these two were a different gravy, as you mentioned there. Brad, linebacker, was just a shade too solid for a note on the line. Look, there was 3 kilos between them. Linebacker, 3 kilos less in weight, probably made the difference in the end. But a node, we knew would go forward, crossed within probably 100 metres and got a nice run in front. Linebacker's good. I mean, that win at Hawkesbury on heavy ground was good in quick time. Obviously strong to the line yesterday, and Johnny O'Shea's going to go to the Champagne in 3 weeks' time. He's not going to the Sires next week. He's going to wait till the Champagne in 3 weeks and have a crack at that Group 1.
So what about the time on a Tancred taken out by Calipour in an upset?
Yeah, great result for Calipour's connections here. I mean, he's been around in everything, this horse, and he's always, he's in Sydney, he's in Melbourne, wherever Carnival. He's been up here in Brisbane many, many times. The only place he probably hasn't been is over York way, guys, and who knows, he may head over there eventually, but he's as tough as old boots. He held off More Fallons, who looked like probably 3 or 4 times down the straight, J-Mac was going to go past Dylan Gibbons on More Fallons, but More Fallons just couldn't quite get there. A great Sydney Cup trial, though, for More Fallons. And another one they're running on late was Athabaskan. Next week is the Chairman's, 2,600 metres. May go to that, but, gee, he was a bit unlucky not to finish a shade closer. Got held up in the straight as well. So Colourpaw was good and strong. You can never count him out. But I think in a Sydney Cup, or from a Sydney Cup point of view, more Felons and Athabasca the two I want to follow there.
Hasn't this race got an honour roll when you go back and have a look at a Kingston Town Bone Crusher, Octagonal twice, Might and Power, Tie the Knot, Mackay Diva. Then you go to Very Elegant, Villiers. Every good horse in Australia's won it. When Freemason won it in 2003, was that the race when he beat Northerly?
Yeah.
In that classic race?
Yeah, they paired out a long way from home from memory, and it was a real cracker of a race. Yeah, I do remember that fondly. That was very exciting. That was probably one of the most exciting tankers we've had. It's had a few name changes over the years, Marty, which might put you off a little bit, but has always been originally the Tancred.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself being fondly, because we were on Northerly.
Well, I wasn't on Freemason, I can tell you.
Hey, Kris, before we get horses to follow, one of our texters, Dave Short. Oh, David.
You know him?
Co-host said, thanks for those two winners last week on the Sunshine Coast. I know Shorty was all over them.
Well, I nearly did as well as him tipping 4 at the Dogs last night, so I don't think I'm half as good as that.
No, he's very good. He's very good.
What are you doing with the weather up there? What are you doing with the weather up there?
Oh, Brad, it's actually... I got up this morning, it was raining again, would you believe? But the sun's come out a little bit now and the golf course has reopened, so hopefully I can get out there this afternoon and get some exercise. But it hasn't stopped here since Christmas. It's just been phenomenal.
Okay, well, we haven't seen any for about 2 years, so send some our way. Hey, let's get horses to follow out of that meeting at Sydney, and then we'll get some winners today if you've got any.
Yeah, Little Mix out of race 2.
Yep.
Macarena was probably unlucky out of race 5. More Felons and Athabascan from race 8. And Hollywood Hero ran really well in the last race. Will I Catch a Lake? Follow Hollywood Hero. Oh, we've got 8 races on the poly track. There's 5 odds on favourites. I'll go with race 4, number 15, Kenja Catch Me, who is not an odds-on favourite. And this one in the last is short, race 8, number 2, Spirit of Brody, Absolute Moral. I just hope we can get a bit better price come closer to the race.
So what's the number there?
Race 8, number 2.
8-2 in the last 4:15.82. Got a big meeting to look at next week. How's this for a day? Doncaster Mile, TJ Smith, Australian Derby, English Sires, Group 1. Fair day.
All I can say is I hope that rain stays away, because I'd hate to be a bog track and spoil it.
Yep. All the best, Kris. We'll listen to you during the week here on Tab Radio.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Easter.
He's a ripper, Kris Nelson, and so's this man who'd be very up and about today. Good morning, Racetrack Ralphy.
Good morning from Adelaide, boys. Absolutely. Very happy to make the trip.
Got there early for gather round, did you?
I can't go Thursday, so I'll get up early, go to the Port game. It's actually the first game I've seen in Adelaide Oval, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, apart from the win, tell us about the experience.
Oh, look, it's just fantastic. They got their lights set up really well for the customers. 38,000. It wasn't as rabid as I thought it might be, the Port fans, but probably because I was expecting the worst, and then you can only enjoy it from there, can't you?
Do you have any wheels left on the hire car when you went out in the car park?
They are. I'm on it now, and I'm on the way down to Glenelg. The Mayor of Adelaide, Mark Bickley's given me some recommendations for a coffee. So
it's beautiful down in Glenelg.
Oh, beautiful down there, Glenelg.
Absolutely.
Down the beach there. Beautiful.
Brad, what about when they showed the crowd shot? Who was it? Benny Brown shooting at goal and all the poor crowd. There was a bloke with one hand missing. There was people without eyes. It was a very interesting looking crowd.
Well, Ralphie, I'm just pleased that they actually got heads on bums on seats there now, because remember in the olden days out at Footy Park, they used to put drapes over the seats because there was no one going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
It is just magnificent. I don't know if you played in it, Brad. I remember doing an EJ Whitten game when I was back in Channel 9 days that was there, and you thought, gee, how good's this close to the city? So, yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Billy Brownless fell on me, broke my rib.
Fantastic.
Hey, it was a great day's racing yesterday. Great day's racing at Flemington yesterday. The Australia Cup was one out of the box.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what about this for if we compared it? Who do you reckon is going to win the more Group 1s, the Australian Cup field, or if you combine to see what I see in Estriella? Because, wow, are they exciting horses too.
Are they ever, yeah.
There's a bit to look forward to. But, yeah, to the main race, I mean, it was as exciting as we wanted without probably necessarily expecting the winning result. But because obviously Mr. Brightside didn't really turn up. I think there's some kryptonite about Mr. Brightside. And unusually in the Cox Plate last year, it was a slow-tempo Cox Plate. By that, I'm not saying they walked, but that wasn't the brutal speed that Pride of Jenny can set up. And that I think that saw him out yesterday. And the other thing probably from a learning perspective, who were the horses really set to peak in Australian Cups? And it was a Tissue and Cascadian. I mean, the other two were set for the All-Star Mile. So you never stop learning in this caper, but it was a fantastic spectacle. And Benny Mellum just absolutely nailed the brief. And Reg Fleming, James Cummings' Melbourne foreman, who was foreman for the Great Bar Cummings, he might be Australia's best trainer that no one's heard of. And I've said that in quotation marks, of course. Yeah. Just a genius with horses.
Look, the ride again by Decky Bates on Pride of Jenny was only usurped by Ben Mellum, because if he doesn't get her right on the line, I don't think Cascadian gets her, because she'll fight back and get you again by the way that looked.
Absolutely, and I think there was some lane disadvantage, and this is zero criticism for Declan Bates for clarity, but just when you're on a leader and you just got to straighten it, and you got to just try and keep it in rhythm, and it's a game of inches, and Ben Mellum got to the best part of the track and just picked it off on the line. So no, it was a fantastic spectacle. Tissue's run to her best, and like I said, I think I'll vow and declare, wow, is he enjoying his racing? So. He's run a beauty as well. So it was a great spectacle, but I just think, Mr. Brightside, if they go to the Queen Elizabeth, I just can't see him featuring because it'll be a high-pressure race again.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Go on, Brad.
Go on, Marty.
No, I was
just going to...
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say I don't want to take Ralphie's time, so I was just going to go back to race one. We thought this might be a forerunner of things to go down the straight, and that proved to be the case. There seemed to be a fast lane out wide.
Well, wasn't it bizarre? I mean, looking at it, and maybe it had nothing to do with it whatsoever and just the way they mowed it, but, gee, looking at it did look like a two-speed track, didn't it? Up the straight, the wider sections did look faster. It certainly proved that on the day. But, I think Lem Picker is probably the horse to follow out of this, but it'll keep going to the winner because they gave it a barrier trial, so it was 2.5 up, if you like, not quite 3.5 up, but it had two runs and then that barrier trial. They're so good without the mark stable, so I think the first two can be followed. Back around the bend, Lem Picker at Caulfield, I think she'll be slingshotting and probably winning as well.
Yeah, race number 2, I know it was Midtown Boss and Matt Laurie. I just want to talk about the race name itself. The Valet John Russell, what a terrific guy John Russell was. I bet you both knew him well, called 20 Melbourne Cups. Come over here. He was a great mate of J.K. Watts, Brad, and they'd always get together. But he was a champion fella as well as a champion race broadcaster.
Yeah, I did meet him a couple of times. Absolute legend of a person, and as you said, as a broadcaster as well. Midtown Boss, back to the right class, and good training effort to just keep him happy, and he pretty much ran to what he did on New Year's Day.
And he'd be loving the way the Blues are going at the moment, Marty, with a man, Carlton
Blue
supporter.
Yeah,
he hated that. He couldn't go to the footy because racing and football were on at the same time, Ralphie. You can't do both, that's for sure. Or
not back then. Back then you couldn't.
The Furphy Mile, he's been in good form this horse for a while, Aaron Bate.
Look, he's just a beauty, and he's not overly talented. By that I mean stakes quality. He just when he puts himself in the race, tries his best, and when he's in that situation and others, give him that chance, he wins. I think going forward out of the race though, very keen on Forgot You and Braden Starr, the Buston and Young pair. That was a terrific first up run and second up run from the two of them. So I think they're the horses to follow with a lot of confidence. Forgot You, just tapered late. It's a big stallion. They gave him 3 barrier trials. He missed a lot of racing prior to his last prep, and he's now back in the zone. So I think he's one of the real black bookers of the day, outside, of course, of the obvious.
Was it a case of a meter in the wrong part of the track here, after to be or not to be got her on the line?
Well, you'd think so. I mean, but in fact, like Mark Zara did say in the steward's report that he walked the track, didn't think there was any difference. Logic would tell you it was. But also it was that usual caveat of the 1,000 to 1,200, which is always a bit of a risk because the 1,000-metre races are its own bubble. Wouldn't be surprised if they tip her out and then come back and win 17 races at Moonee Valley. I mean, she looks a perfect horse for that type of track, doesn't she?
Now, what about this one? I mean, James Hale, I was watching this race obviously live, as you boys were. 100 ago, I've walked to the fridge to get myself a coldie, and all of a sudden I hear Hilly go hang on a minute, what's this? Sounds it feels like a rocket.
Absolutely, and well, that's what it did on Rapid Racing Day, and actually that was actually a good time because the time that day was pretty comparable to Katsu and Najim Sahel. Yeah, last bit from Najim Sahel. When he's rated right, he was yesterday, he's always going to be deep in the finish, but you love to see him at Caulfield around over 1,000 metres. They just won't catch him there. Sonsu continues racing well. Katsu, I will find the Tasmanian Tiger before I find the Graham Beck stable. They're just too good to me.
Race number 6, you mentioned it early. See what I see, this Grabe, I see the stars. Tell us about it.
Well, it's just got gears, hasn't it? You know, I mean, and Blake, probably a little bit similar, not as scary, though, as at Moonee Valley, where it was just in traffic and just had to explode out of a pocket. Yesterday, the pocket, came out 250 rather than 50 metres out. But, he rides it with such confidence. So I think Danny O'Brien's got a beauty here. Don't know where the limit's going to be, but I'm looking forward to following it.
Estriella.
Yeah, lauding was good again. I must have, that's where I was, but we were lauding the winner in the end.
Yeah.
But couldn't do much wrong. Didn't do much wrong there, Benny Mellon. Met him in the zip fast and the whole kit and caboodle. I think he got the biggest shock of all.
Absolutely. Well, we don't know with Estriella if Wet Track's going to hit, what's going to be, but we just know she's a super talent. And really, this is going to be a form race going forward because Saltaire's a beauty. Her dynamic finish at Moonee Valley Cox Plate Day is fully franked. An Arkansas kid, I'm sure the Hayes boys are delighted with him. So I think outside of Estriella, there's going to be a lot of winners to come in Melbourne off-season racing as well, and maybe South Australia.
Our good old mate Roger James, he won't come west anymore, but he doesn't mind it over the east. And Mark Twain, what a win this was in the Roy Higgins.
Look, it certainly was. Out in the super fast lanes out wide, mostly Cloudy's the horse to follow out of this. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Sydney Cup, mostly Cloudy. I don't know where he had his wet track form off the top of my head, but he was a beauty and he was a bit unlucky. But Luke Curry made my day afterwards before the Demons made my day in the next race. So I'm very forgiving of Luke Curry.
He's our Bonnie Vale.
Yes. Well, this is just the case. And the other thing, boys, I know we're pressed for time, but that Australian Guineas meeting, the track was aerated, the times were terrible, and I think a few of them were punished that day, and they've really improved out of that, and he's our Bonneville. Thankfully, yesterday was one of them, but, the horse behind him, Bella Rich, dashing early in their prep, Euphoria, they'll improve out of that. But horses to follow from the meeting, apart from the obvious, I'm very keen on Forgot You going forward next start.
Bit of head wobbling going on this morning. Ralphie?
Well, when you finish the day with a $12 winner and the Demons winning, can life get any better?
Oh, it's the way to start Easter. All the very best to you.
Good on you, boys.
We'll do it again next week. There is Racetrack Ralphy from racetrackralphy.com.au.
The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
All right, let's talk the World Game now with Simon Hill, who joins us. A very good morning, Simon.
I think all sports like to play the moral high ground, don't they, until things go wrong, and then they all go quiet.
Yeah, they go very quiet. Hey, Simon, we've just had this game completed. Brentford won, Manchester United won. So finally, that's a good result for the Bees.
Yeah, well, it was very close to being 0-0 this game. 2 goals late in stoppage time. Manchester United thought they got the points. Mason Mount poaching inside the box in the 96th minute, setting the United fans wild. But the lead lasted about 90 seconds. And in the 98th or 99th minute, Christopher Ayer got an equaliser for Brentford. So the Bees deserved that point, to be fair. They were good against United, probably dominated the game. They hit the crossbar. Brian and Bumo, Ivan Toney had a goal ruled out for offside. So they will feel, points is the least that they deserve. But it's a costly goal to concede so late on for United. 11 points now behind Aston Villa in 4th and 8th behind Spurs in 5th. And it looks, to all intents and purposes, as though their Champions League chances for next season are gone now.
Simon, good morning. A couple of red cards handed out in the earlier games. Obviously, it didn't affect Newcastle. Their winner 4-3 over West Ham. But what about the Chelsea-Burnley game? Did that have an ultimate say in the result?
Well, yeah. I mean, Vincent Kompany certainly thought so in the Chelsea-Burnley game. He's the Burnley manager, of course. He got sent to the stands because he was so irritated that Lawrence Assignon had been sent off just before half-time. To be fair, I think his second yellow card, which came after the first, is probably justified. But the first one, which gave away a penalty, was very dubious, to be honest. I think there was minimal contact on the Chelsea attacker. However, it's a good result for Burnley, given that they played the entire second half a man short. Cole Palmer converting that penalty that I talked about. He added a second in the second half. But Josh Cullen cancelled out the opener with a brilliant strike. And then Dara O'Shea late on in the game, giving them a big point at Stamford Bridge. They stay in the bottom three, but keeps them in touch. They've got Wolves to come on Tuesday at Turf Moor, so maybe still a bit of hope for Burnley. And another worrying result for Chelsea. They had 33 shots throughout the game. Mauricio Pochettino said during the week they really should be fourth. Well, that's a fair indication as to why. So many shots, and yet still that leaky defence comes back to haunt them. The other game that you talked about, a bit of a crazy game between Newcastle and West Ham. Newcastle winning it by 4-3. Harvey Barnes, the hero, the substitute for Newcastle, came off the bench to score twice in the last 10 minutes. Alexander Isak also got a double for the Toon. Anthony Gordon sent off in stoppage time, so probably a little bit too late to affect the game, to answer your earlier question. But West Ham will be left wondering how on earth they let this one slip away, leading 3-1 with 13 minutes to go. Mikhail Antonio, Mo Kudus and Jared Bowen with the goals, but somehow they allowed Newcastle back in, and that's 54 goals conceded now for West Ham. Only the bottom three have conceded more.
Gee whiz. What about Bournemouth 2, Everton 1?
Another stoppage time winner. There was quite a few of them overnight in the Premier League. This time for Bournemouth. Seamus Coleman with an own goal condemning Everton to a 12th match without a win. Ex-Liverpool striker Dominic Solanke, so they've enjoyed this one and put the Cherries in front. His 16th of the season, which, by the way, equals Josh King's record for the club in the top flight. But Everton looked to have got a point. Beto profiting from a slip from Neto, the goalkeeper for Bournemouth, and bundling the ball home. But that stoppage time winner from Seamus Coleman. It's a bizarre goal. It's a cross that's a bit of a nothing ball, to be honest. And Coleman is looking to just chest the ball behind for a corner, because he's obviously not got a shout as to whether anybody's behind him, and inadvertently just chest the ball into his own net. So Everton still up against it, trying to maintain their 70-year status, of course, as a top-flight club. They're awaiting the result of further financial charges. Bournemouth on 38 points now, and they look pretty safe.
Couple of draws, Sheffield United and Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace, and Spurs keep their top four hopes alive against Luton Town.
Yeah, let's go through those three games in turn. Sheffield United 3, Fulham 3, a bicycle kick from Rodrigo Muniz. He's having a terrific season for Fulham, denying Sheffield United a much-needed 3 points. Fulham were 2 goals down in that one, and Sheffield United had let slip a 2-goal lead against Bournemouth in their last game as well. They remain 7 points adrift of safety, and time's really running out for the Blades. The 1-1 draw between Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace actually moves Forest out of the bottom three. That's thanks to Luton's loss to Tottenham. Chris Wood earning a point for Forest after Jean-Philippe Mateta had put Palace in front. They're still without a win since February the 17th. And they could have lost this one as well. Daniel Munoz for Palace with a header hitting the post in the 90th minute. Palace are all but safe in mid-table. And Tottenham staying in touch with the race for the top four. They fought back after conceding an early goal to Tahith Chong for Luton. Issa Kabura with an own goal, making it 1-1. And then Son Heung-min, who else, getting his 160th goal for Tottenham, becomes their 5th highest goal scorer ever, with a slight aid of a kind deflection. So that result moved Spurs briefly into 4th before Aston Villa beat Wolves later on, reversed those positions. For Luton, it's the 3rd consecutive game they've lost after leading at half-time, and they've still got trips to Arsenal and Manchester City to come, so they're going to have to win all their home games, I think, if they're going to have any chance of staying up.
I'm not sure if we got to this one or not. Villa over Wolves?
Yeah, that's the remaining game. Villa 2, Wolves 0. Moussa Diaby with an absolutely beautiful strike, and Ezri Konsa, who's had quite the week. He made his full England debut under Gareth Southgate in the midweek friendlies, moving Villa back into 4th spot ahead of Tottenham. Spurs still have a game in hand. Of more concern to Villa, their top scorer Ollie Watkins limping off at half-time. He's going to need a scan. So that could be a problem for them, especially with that game in hand for Tottenham. Wolves, well beaten on the day. They lacked a spark, really, without three of their creative players, Pedro Neto, Hwang Hee-chan, Mateus Cunha, but they've got 41 points and they are safe in mid-table. But that race for fourth is going to go right to the wire.
OK, two games to have a look at. Big games as well. Liverpool, $1.33, draw $5.75, Brighton are $8, and then the big one, Man City, $1.84, draw $3.65, Arsenal, $4.20.
Interesting that Arsenal are such big outsiders. That's probably because they've got a poor record of late at the Etihad. City have beaten Arsenal in all the last 8 meetings in Manchester. But, of course, the Gunners did win the reverse fixture at the Emirates earlier on this season. This is a massive 6-pointer at the top. It's Liverpool top with 64 at the moment. Arsenal second, also on 64, but with a worse goal difference. And City just a point behind. City are going to be without a couple of players as well. Kyle Walker and John Stones are missing. They picked up injuries in the midweek international window, so that could be a problem for Pep Guardiola. And Arsenal have won all 8 of their games in 2024, scoring 33 goals. So there might be a bit of value in the draw at least, even though City are unbeaten in 38 matches at the Etihad Stadium. Liverpool got to be strong favourites to beat Brighton. They could go 3 clear of Arsenal and 4 clear of City before they meet at the Etihad. But a little word of caution for punters. Liverpool have won only 1 of the last 7 against Brighton. And the Brighton coach, Roberto De Zerbi, who's being linked with the top job at Anfield. Jurgen Klopp, of course, about to depart at the end of the season. And Xabi Alonso has said, no, I don't want the job. I'm staying with Bayer Leverkusen. He's unbeaten in 4 meetings against Jurgen Klopp, winning 2 and drawing the other 2.
Simon, switching to the A-League, 3 games yesterday, and Marty will take you through the 3 upcoming, or 4. Probably the most significant one, Sydney FC over Central Coast Mariners?
Yeah, that's fair. This is a really good, intense game of football last night, won by Sydney FC by 2-0. Anthony Caceres and Joel King with his first ever A-League goal. And Sydney's high press, again, a real feature of this game. The Mariners, of course, flying high. They could have gone top had they won last night, but Sydney would not let them breathe for a moment. And they're looking, a real threat ahead of the finals. They're starting to move into gear under Ufuk Talay. The other game last night, goalless between Melbourne City and Newcastle, which keeps Melbourne City out of the top 6, a combination of poor finishing and really good goalkeeping from Ryan Scott, denying City that return. And the point keeps the Jets alive just about for the finals. OK, so today... Now, this is an early start over there in New Zealand. Wellington Phoenix 2.14, 3.65 the draw. Brisbane Roar 3.10, and then that'll get us to Melbourne Victory $1.40, draw 5.25, and Perth Glory at 6.40. That game gets underway at midday. Yeah, I think the Wellington-Brisbane game is arguably the earliest kickoff we've had in the A-League. Of course, it's lunchtime over in New Zealand. We're a couple of hours ahead, but it's 11 a.m. Eastern time here. What does that make it over your way? Is that 8 a.m? 8 a.m, yeah. No, we're still 3 behind. There you go. That's an early feast of football for fans over in WA. Phoenix, of course, chasing their first piece of silverware. They'll be buoyed by the Mariners' result last night. They remain 3 points clear, so they can go 6 clear at the top if they can win today, which I fancy them to do. And they go to the Mariners next week, so that could even be a premiership decider if they beat Raw today, which I expect they will. The only slight caveat, 5 Wellington players have had a long journey back this week from international duty with the All Whites in Egypt, and they're still missing Oscar Zavada, who's their main talisman up front. But I think Phoenix will be too good at home. Mm-hmm. The other game, Melbourne Victory, well, understandably hot favourites against the Glory. Glory's away form is not good. The big talking point in this one, and quite how they've come to this decision, I don't know. Salem Khalifi is going to be allowed to play for Victory despite being on loan from Perth Glory, who were, a few weeks ago, denied the opportunity to play Jared Carluccio, who was in the same situation against Western Sydney Wanderers. Quite how they've come to that conclusion, I've no idea. If I was Tony Popovich, I'd leave him out for this game as a show of good faith. Victory, of course, looking for the top four. Former Glory strikers, Fornaroli, Economides. Fornaroli in particular in good form this season. It's going to be a tough afternoon, I think, for Perth, even though they've got Beavers and Sushnell back in defence from injury.
Okay, and one tomorrow as well. Macarthur FC playing Western Sydney Wanderers. They're 265, the draw 365, and Western Sydney are 243.
Yeah, that's probably fair enough. I mean, it's going to be a tight game. It's a local derby, and the last time these two met in Campbelltown, they produced an awful lot of fireworks. Macarthur winning 4-3 with a 93rd minute goal from Valère Germain. Tom Beadley sent off for the Wanderers. Marco Redan having a crack at the referees afterwards, which earned him a touchline ban. So this should be a good game. Both teams in the top six. And the Wanderers, of course, in particular, having eased the pressure after that 7-0 hammering by Melbourne City by winning in your neck of the woods against Perth Glory by 2-1 just before the international break. So it should be a good game. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in a draw.
Little draw there on the Monday game. Hey, Simon, always great to catch up. You enjoy the rest of Easter.
On your Simon.
Cheers, guys. Happy Easter to you and your listeners.
He's a beauty, Simon Hill. Let's take a break. We'll be back, and Dan Pearce will be talking Albany Cup next.
On the Aftermath, you are listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, and Dan Pearce is joining us because it is the Wellington and Reeves Community Albany Cup today. They're taking Manavendra down the highway to Albany. A very good morning, dear Dan.
Morning, boys. How are you?
Yeah, we're well. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Setting up a Easter egg hunt.
Oh, right, for the young ones.
Have a hyperactive toddler shortly, so that'll be fun.
Hey, Dan, Brad Hardie, you're going to have a great day. I hope everyone has a great day in the family and the trip down there. Jeez, he's a tough horse, this bugger.
Yeah, he's been good. He's obviously this preparation gone to another level, but yeah, look, it was exciting to have a horse that you can travel around these country cups and have a good day out.
Everyone, after the win in the Esperance Cup, the thought was, it was the weaker Esperance Cup and the form hasn't held up, but he had to do it from back in the field. It was a beautiful ride from CJP. He drew wide. I think he's in this race up to his ears.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a bit of a tricky programming a month between the Esperance and the Albany, and there wasn't a Saturday staying race in the 2 weeks between. So we sort of looked at it and decided to back him up off the Esperance Cup, which didn't work for that. But what it's done is it's meant we now go 3 weeks into the Albany Cup, and then obviously thinking forward to the Geraldton Cup next weekend. So we just sort of had to plan a way through to get to the Albany Geraldton Cups. But yeah, look, we're really happy with how he goes down there today.
He's a very adaptable fella, isn't he? So I've seen him race midfield. I've seen him race on just beyond the speed. I've seen him race back. So from the 6 alley, you expect him to take up a position in the first half?
Oh, look, well, Clint knows him really well now. I do think he seems more effective ridden that bit cooler. But yeah, obviously, just trying to see how the track, some of these tracks have not been playing to be able to ride them like that lately. So yeah, look, we'll leave that to Clint and see how the day pans out. But yeah, look, the way he was ridden at Esperance is obviously the best way to ride him. But yeah, like I say, Clint knows the horse really well.
As Brad said at the top of this interview, he's tough. He had his first run of this campaign back in November.
Yeah. Look, he's a sound sort of tough horse. I think he's in a really good spot. He probably looks as good now as he has all preparation. So yeah, like I say, really really happy with how he goes down there.
How have you assessed the field?
Oh, I think it's pretty level. Like we certainly wouldn't be swapping our bloke for any others. There's a couple of different form lines. Obviously, Jordan's horse was pretty good in the Bunbury Cup, and he's chosen to trial it. Like I say, if there was if there was that race on the Saturday 2 weeks out, then you would have seen most of them there. But yeah, he's had to trial his one. So yeah, look. Yeah, pretty even field, we thought.
And the way you race him regularly, does he need much work during the week, Dan?
No, pretty athletic, sort of clean-winded style of horse. So yeah, look, we think he's a sort of, yeah, like I say, sound, clean-winded stayer. He doesn't take too much maintenance there.
Okay, you finished the meeting off nicely there yesterday with Excel Train.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, he's always shown us enough. We stretched him out to a mile as a 3-year-old, and then we've played around at 12, the 13s, and back out to the 14 there. I mean, I think the way the race was run helped him, and there was a couple of very unlucky runs in behind him helped him as well. So yeah, look, we're certainly happy to get the result, and like he's sort of very sound, honest, tough horse, and that gets him a fair way.
So who goes down to Albany today? Is it you or Ben?
No, Ben's headed down this morning. They're on the road now. So him and Jordan are going on the road trip. Ben did Esperance, so we don't want to change the recipe.
No, particularly when you're busy.
I wasn't fighting for it either.
You're very busy setting up an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, no, he'll go down there. I'm sure there'll be some stories told on the way home anyway between those two.
All right. Well, let's hope you get the Easter eggs down there in Albany today on Easter Sunday. It's found its slot there, the Albany Cup on Easter Sunday. Let's hope they get a good crowd there and that your horse can win the Cup for Wellington and Reeves. All the best.
Perfect. Thanks, boys.
Good luck, Dan.
Pearce.
Hey, listen, on the Red Division text line,
yes,
there's been a text from a Baywatch down there. I think there's a couple going around down there today who spark a bit of interest in race 3 and 4, isn't there?
I'll try and smoke him out. Go on.
Oh, come on, Baywatch. I want to know. He's got Hot Chatter in. Well, his beautiful wife has Hot Chatter in race 3, the top weight, number 1, and Bo Zoom, top weight in race 4. So that'd be a nice little race-to-race double for the punters. Yep. Come on, Baywatch, where are you?
Now, Jim the Pommy Pie was on fire yesterday, picked up a few early wins on the East Coast and headed off to Ascot and picked up 4 winners and 2 trifectas. Said hello to the boys who were looking very dapper. No, he doesn't.
He never loses.
Well,
he's a beauty. How come we're not on his SMS chain?
That's the idea of punting. Beauty, a nice Easter gift also. Beauty. This is from Mark of Vic Park. Okay, so Mark, if you haven't caught up with the news, Mark of Vic Park won last week's Sunday Saviour. So he said, Beauty, a nice Easter gift. Also, a Liverpool supporter. So, yeah, you've got that big game coming up against Brighton ahead of you today. So maybe put the $100 Tap Touch voucher on it.
Now, I don't want to steal your thunder, but Soph did send me through there was a beauty mouldy yesterday. I've got to mention this. Race 7, Rose Hill Orchestral. Race 9, Rose Hill, Another Will. And race 6 at Flemington, See What I See. Now, those 3 rolled in together, $7.14, Marty. That's the lazy 3 gorillas on that one. Yes. 21,432.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That's a Sunday saviour.
I actually had Orchestral and Another Will in a multi myself, but the middle.
So did I, with Lording.
The Gerg. Brad, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll be back with Dougie Hawkins. We'll have a chat about your the passing of your very good mate Les Twentyman in just a second.
Yes. The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Here's Brad Hardie's in Melbourne. How's the weather over there, Brad?
A little overcast, a little cool this morning, Marty, but it's going to be overcast for most of the day, around about 23, but it won't matter because obviously the doggies and the Eagles are playing under the roof. So, yeah, no problems there, Marty.
Talking about the doggies, one of the great doggies joins us right now, Dougie Hawkins. A very good morning.
Marty, Barney, how are you, bad man?
Going really well, Hawk, and we're a bit solemn. We wanted to get you on today because talk about the feats of one Leslie Jack Twentyman. I called him Jack 40 Shillers. What did you call him?
I called him 20. I called him 2 dozen minus 4, which I think when I went to school was 20. Comes back to 20. 24 minus 4 is 20. And then I think I called him Digger sometimes. And I called him a few other names sometimes when he invaded my house down there in Kenneth Street.
Well, Hawk, we got him on, Marty, because Les Twentyman passed away, unfortunately. Well, in his element, to be honest, in his lounge chair on Friday night, watching the Dockers with a glass of red in hand, and, just 76 years of age. But his legacy for the voiceless Doug was unbelievable in the western suburbs, particularly around the football club where he started the Care for Kids program, which you were part of.
Yeah, it was, Barney, no doubt about that. And Stephen Robert Pearce was a part of the Care for Kids back-to-school program, and that was obviously to help the underprivileged families in the western suburbs that couldn't afford to not only go to school but to pay for their uniforms and their books. Les started right from the start, Barney, and he just did a fantastic job. And as we know, he treated everybody the same. It wouldn't matter if it was Brad Hardie, the Brownlow medalist, or Dougie Hawkins to play 350 games, or to the family that lives in a bungalow in the back of Braybrook. They got the same treatment as we would get. And that was the beauty of him. And I think, too, Brad, was about him was that if you mucked up, he gave you a second and a third chance. Like, he didn't burn you. You know, he'd stick by you, and the stuff that he did with, the families and the disadvantaged people and the homeless, mental health stuff as well. Every day for Les was a different day, and he took the challenge on every day, and he just did a fantastic job. And the thing, Barney, that was always I remember most about Les is that grand final. Sorry, not grand final. The breakfast morning we would go to, me, you, Sam Newman, Merv Hughes would go along as well. Where it started with, Barney, 50 people?
15 kids at the first one, yeah.
15 kids. And now there's 1,500. The Christmas morning stuff was just legendary. And Brooksy from the Music Menu was fantastic as well. He was involved in that. And they're the things that I just hope that the Les Twentyman Foundation, Barney, can just keep going as well. And the other one too, Barney, was our morning sessions down at the Hub with the great Ronnie Simmons, who was the trainer, the runner for Footscray for 20 years. But he had a gymnasium in Sunshine, and Monday morning in the mid-'80s under the coach of the Mick Moldhouse, Barney, he'd send me, you, Steve McPherson, and Les Twentyman would come down and we'd train Monday morning at 5:30 after we celebrated some of our victories, which we certainly had back in those days, Bear Man. And I remember doing medicine ball for about 12 minutes with Simo. You'd go first, I go next, Super would go, and then Les would go. At about the 8-minute mark, the 10-minute mark, Les would get running up and run outside and having a spin.
And the beauty of that, Marty, was the Hub out at Sunshine. The bloke who used to let us in when we were coming in at 6, because he was letting himself out, was a bloke called E.J. Wittenhawk.
Yeah, EJ was coming out.
He'd let
He'd get there at 4 o'clock and train.
Yeah.
He'd get there at 4 o'clock and train Barney. But, those sort of memories, socially, we Barney, as you know, we had a lot of fun with Les socially outside of the great work that he did with all the people of the western suburbs. So, I hope Jacinda Allen and the government here in Victoria decide to offer the family, Cherie and the family of the Twentyman family, a state service. I hope they do that.
He was named Victorian of the Year in 2006, given the Medal of the Order of Australia back in 1994. But reading about him yesterday, Doug, in preparation for our chat, I couldn't believe the diverse amount of politicians and sports people that just came out and spoke so glowingly about what he's been able to achieve. Yeah,
Marty, he actually related to everybody, touched everybody, and I think, and Barney, Brad will agree with me on this, I think why he was so much accepted in the western suburbs was he was a western suburbs boy. He actually dressed like it. Like, he wore a jean jacket, had a bit of a long hair back in the early days, a moustache, a pair of jeans. He wasn't going to walk around in a suit or a briefcase or stuff like that. So he actually fitted in well. Does that make any sense, Barney? Like Marty, he just fitted into the West, and people loved him for what they saw as what they got. And you felt comfortable around him, and the families who were struggling and doing it tough, they could relate to him. And I just think that was the beauty of Les too, because he belonged with them. If that makes sense, he belonged with them. So. Yep.
Yeah,
that was a great thing about
it. If you had the unfortunate experience of going into his bedroom, Marty, there would be in the walk-in robe, if you can call it that, there would be 2 pair of jeans and 7 black T-shirts.
That's it.
One for each day.
Keep it simple.
And 6 jean jackets.
That is great to hear. And he was working to the end too. Apparently he was still trying to find shoes and clothes for some people out there in the western suburbs the day he passed.
Hey, I didn't know, Marty. Barney, had he been cooked, Barney? He'd been cooked, Barney, the last... I haven't spoken to Jack for probably 3 or 4 weeks. Had he been cooked?
No, he was just getting worn out, I think. You know, he was a tireless worker. You're right, Marty. And I spoke to him on Thursday because he was due to address the WA Parliament, as a matter of fact, Voice, in a few weeks' time about refugee young youth and stuff like that. So he was asking about a few contacts, and we were talking about that. But he was in relatively good health too. It was at least he didn't suffer, Marty and Doug. That's the main thing, and that's you know. But he was a tireless worker.
Yeah,
100%.
Now, Dougie, let's just switch it from Les for a tick. Your boys are playing the West Coast Eagles today under the lid. Last year, they got beat.
Don't bring it up, Marty. It still hurts. That still hurts, Marty. Me and Barney being passionate Bulldogs, and you know, it actually cost the Bulldogs a finals opportunity. And you know, the Eagles come over struggling and got the job done. I think what was critical, here I go again, I mean, the Bottenpelli's a superstar, great player. But I think Liberatore is as much important to the Western Bulldogs than is what the Bont is. And he didn't play that day. I'm not saying that cost him the victory. The Eagles were very, very good. So we actually armed one, and I got a gut feeling, Barney, Marty, that the players who played in that game last year, if that doesn't give you a little bit of a kick in the guts to go out there today and get the job done, well, I'll be actually shocked.
Yeah, and look, we know it's going to be a damage control by the West Coast, Marty. They'll have plenty in the back half trying to frustrate Doug, the Fords, Ugelhagen and Norton and the co. So they're going to have to find ways through to get through that. But it should be a beauty under the lid. And Hawk, we thank you for coming on. Who do you think can win it from here, Hawk? I mean, who do you think is the best team in the competition?
The best team in the competition at the moment, Barney. I'm a pretty good judge, Barney, Marty, as you know. I reckon St Kilda can win it. I reckon, you know what? I have no idea. The last game I watched was back in 1983. I think, were we playing back then? I don't support it a lot these days, but anyway, no, I think there's a lot of the teams can win it, Brad, and I think it's very open.
Like the Barwon Heads. Dougie, all the very best to you. Always great to catch up on WA Radio. You're very popular over here.
Good
I love
you,
your tips.
Barney. See you, boys.
See you, Dougie. Go for a gallop down that wing, Dougie. He's a beauty, though, in all seriousness. And just having a look at it, what's that line getting out to now for this game? Because a lot of punters have just been laying West Coast at the line so far this season in the 2 games, and they've collected both times.
I'm not subscribing to that. As I said, like I'm in the minority, as you know, but I've identified from their pre-season games it's all about damage control for Simpson, and so it's not about the fact they're not trying to win. They just don't want to get blown off the park, and that's why you saw last week with even the Giants, the first half, it was a low-scoring game because there was stacked the back line, you know. And then how many times last week did you see West Coast actually, when they won the ball to go forward, they had to stop because there was no one there, you know. And under the lid, as we call it at the Marvel, that condenses that ground even more, and that's what I'm expecting today. So it might be as high scoring or a bigger margin as people think. But I'm sure Luke Beveridge, who nearly lost his job on that one last year, and probably kept Adam Simpson's job with a few. It doesn't matter if it's a point or 40 or 100 points. The Bulldogs just want to try and win.
Bulldogs $1.04, West Coast 10.50. That line is 52.5. Total points 179.
It'll be under that.
Under that, right?
Yeah, because as I say, I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, and you don't lose by 52 points in a low-scoring game.
Better catch up with Kris Lees because he trained the winner of the Tancred Stakes there yesterday.
Up immediately, and still Buckaroo's back last of all. Bois de Jean sustaining this run. Moved up on the outside of Military Mission as they turn for home. Carla Poor 3 lengths away third, then more Felons from Ash Run. Post Impressionist still a long way back. It's Bois de Jean the leader. Carla Poor starting to knuckle down. Military Mission fighting back on the rails, and then came more Felons. It's Carla Poor in front of the 100. Carla Poor from more Felons. Carla Poor kicking from more Felons. Carla Poor clinging on, and Carla Poor won the Tancred just from more Felons. I think Ash Run nailed third.
He might have just won it, but he got there, and Kris Lees must have been wrapped with that win. G'day, Chris.
Morning, guys.
Yeah, how was it? It must have been giving you a great feeling. It's always good to win a Group 1, and particularly like a mile and a half Group 1 so famous like the Tancred, but to do it with a roughie like that, you must have been on cloud 9.
Yeah, a bit surreal, really. I've got to say, we didn't go to the races with any great expectations. It's an honest horse. But look, to be fair to the race, it probably wasn't your classic Tancred. You go back through the winners of the Tancred Stakes, Kingston Towns and the Kaiby Duvas, Tagonal. So there's certainly none of them in this year's edition. And so the right horse on the day.
Kris, Brad, mate, congratulations. It was and great to share it with young Dylan Gibbons. So you kept it in the area, that's for sure.
Yeah, Brad, it was terrific. He's been our apprentice for. We've only got a couple of months to go, but he's a wonderful young man, very talented rider, and it was only his second Group 1 win. He won the Sydney Cup last year, but he's still got many more to come. He's certainly a great talent.
Gave it a beautiful ride as well.
He did. He got into that slipstream just behind the leader, and the pressure went on at the 700. He was tempted to go. Thankfully, he revised his decision and let a couple go, and that won him the race. He was able to save that bit of energy for the last furlong, and he was good through the line.
Yeah, was it? He rode him positively out of the gates. Initially, did he say to you, "I think I'm going to lead," and then all of a sudden he did hand up, which was the right move?
Well, yeah, our intention is to go forward. There didn't look huge pressure in the race. He led all the way, winning the Archer on Derby Day last year, so we know he can take up a position. He hasn't got a big turn of foot, so a grinding style of run was always going to suit us. So when he's able to stalk the leader, who was only early into preparation, so we were able to get the win.
You have a look at his form leading in. He was second to Lindemann in the Sky High leading into the race. It wasn't as if it was a duckhead alongside of his name.
No, he probably... Look, it's easy after the fact, isn't it? But he probably was overs. You know, he had a really good year of racing last year. He come off a paddock injury and he raced from March right through to the Melbourne Cup. I think the longest he went without a run was about 8 weeks. So it was a really arduous year of racing. He was luckless in a Melbourne Cup, not that it would have made a great deal of difference. He was a grade below that, but a bit of freshness in his legs and that residual fitness. As much as it was a surprise, he probably was overs in hindsight.
Yeah, you know, and you talk about the race not being up to the standard of, and I'd read out the honour roll of this race half an hour ago on the program. We know that, but these are pretty handy stays. You're talking more Felons with that English form. Ash Run's run in the Melbourne Cup last year was terrific. Athabaskan has great French form. Military Mission. Wasda John ran fourth in a Caulfield, and Post Impressionist, who obviously must have handled the backup, he was all the rage after his win last week.
Yeah, you're right. Look, they're probably good, honest handicap horses.
Yeah.
But they all met with the same weight and a weight for race. So we're looking forward to 2 weeks' time where he drops to 52.5 in the Sydney Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say that's obviously the way he's going. And does Dylan stay with him?
Yes, he will. Yeah.
Good.
He'll have no trouble with that weight, although I'd suggest the weights will probably go up a couple of kilos. I think the race will fall away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about young Dylan?
A real live chance.
Yeah. Young Dylan moving forward, as you said, how long does he go before his apprenticeship ends?
I think it's June, July. He'll mix his base up between Newcastle and Sydney. I think he really has to give himself a chance to experience Sydney life and just to see whether it's for him. Obviously, that's where he's going to be riding, but it's an easy commute these days. It's a 2-hour drive, which we all do regularly. Mm-hmm. But I think he needs to give himself that opportunity to see whether he likes it. there's always Newcastle will always be home for him, I'd suggest.
Everything I've seen of the young man being interviewed and etc. would suggest he's got the right temperament and the discipline and attitude and ability to make it as a senior.
Yeah, he ticks all them boxes. I think he asked me to go for a drink with him last night. I think he had three cocktails and then went home. So that shows where.
Oh, they're a different breed these days.
If I was 21, I've had 300. So anyway, he's got the right attitude.
Hey, Kris, your stable's going well. So what about for the listeners? They've always got their pens at the ready when we get people of the calibre of yourself on. Is something to look out for in the next 7 days that they can latch onto?
Yeah, good day of racing tomorrow at Warwick Farm. I thought a horse called Power of the Brave will run well first time out. He seems to be coming up nicely. Might be one to watch.
There's our little Easter present, from you there, Kris. Thanks for that, and continued success, and all the best with Callipore in the Sydney Cup.
Good on you guys. Much appreciated.
Power of the Brave there tomorrow. We can get some Easter egg action. Right, let's check these out.
These are the Sunday Aftermath Big Bets and Collects on Tab Radio, Racing and Sport.
Y'all ready for this?
You ready for this? Well, the book looked like it's had a good day at Ascot, Brad. God's Gate, they've had $2,000 on it at 440. Almighty Class going down. We'll talk about that in Racing Rewind soon. $2,000 at $2. Another striker in race number 5, 2.5 at 370. Woburn Gold, 3,700 at 170. Triple J, $3,000 at 330. And then 2,468 on Own the Queen at $1.95. And then Fast Flicker in the last. Someone's had $12,000 on at 225 and left that one in the bag.
Gee, that is a fill-up, isn't it? For the
good day for the book. McGittity's still got a job next week. That's good to know. As you mentioned, Saturday's best multi-winner, Horgestrel race 7, Another Will race 9, and then See What I See race number 6. $7.14, and a smart punter had $3,000 on to get $21,000 back. Some other results, Brad. Here we go. Bathurst Trots race 5. Soho Honey Rider, $100 bet, 100 to 1, got $10,000. Oakbank the first, Pure Bliss, $3,500 on at 265, got the money, 9,200 return. See What I See, 4,000 at 225, there's $9,000. Rose Hill race 10, Gringotts, 2.5 at 340s, 8,500. Flemington race number 10, Here's Our Bonnie Vale, 500 at $12 is $6,000. Bathurst Trots race 1, Stylish Lazarus, $10,000 on at $1.70. Left it in the bag. And then Flemington race 4, Amina, just got on the wrong side of the track, 5,000 at $1.90, and that was a loser. Now, the early money. Here we go, Brad. Write these down. Mudgee race 1, right. Star Poppy. Mudgee race 4, Water Lad. And race 5 is Dances with Hooves. Sunshine Coast race 1, Dayu. Albany race 1, Sabera Lot. Albany race 2, Shoulder Patch. Albany race 6, Floppy. Albany race 7, Tony Spirit. Albany race 7, Beats of War, and that is in the Albany Cup. Brad, we've got 5 minutes. Let's talk some AFL. Go back to Thursday night, the Collingwood Footy Club. They turned up the heat, and they were way too good for Brisbane.
Yeah, well, in the end they were, Marty. You're absolutely right. It was a really strange game, wasn't it? Collingwood showed their intent. Their tackling was ferocious and constant. And then at quarter time you thought, this is going to be hard now for Brisbane. And they played scintillating. I've never seen a more dominant quarter from the Brisbane Lions in all my life. They had 21 inside 50s there at one stage and brought it back to almost level at half time. But from that point of view, you thought Chris Fagan might have been sitting on his hands a bit, Marty. He needed to get proactive, and then they lost their way after that, and the Pies were terrific. They outshone Brisbane after half. Nothing out of the forwards again for Brisbane, which is a bit of a problem for them. But going forward, I'm still a little bit mindful. I think Collingwood can make the 8. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but I'm worried about them being able to maintain that pressure level for so long. And what about Johnny Noble? I mean, he's almost the heartbeat of that footy club, isn't he? He missed out last year, as we know, in the final series for unknown reasons. And, him back in the side just gave him that little bit of an edge I think they've been lacking.
Yeah, and that's the third time this season Brisbane have done this. They played a good quarter and a bit against Carlton. They did one quarter against Fremantle here. And a quarter, it's just not going to get it done. They've got big problems. There's no doubt. As I said, nothing was made about the fact they had no Coleman and no McKenna going into that game, and where was their run going to come from off half-back?
Oh, and he uses my man really poorly, Bailey. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, there was some criticism of Bailey, but Bailey did his job. He had 20 disposals and the goals we wanted him to do on the bet. But the bottom line was he's got to be. Sometimes you've got to put the unobtrusive ones in the middle, Marty. You know what I mean? Because they become your weapons. Everybody wants to stop McGluggies. Everybody wants to stop Neil. So you put someone else in there who, it's only him, like, so to speak, and they leave you alone. And we see it so often. But, yeah, they've got a bit of work to do. And I know Chris Fagan's buoyant and saying, there's still 20 rounds to go. But, they're going to be battling to make the top 8. Forget the top 4 and top 2, which they need to do to win the flag. I thought they could win the flag coming into the season. There's a lot made of brouhaha about this trip to Vegas, which back in November, that's nothing new. Blokes on footy trips, God almighty. So they've got a lot of work to do now just to make the 8.
Now, I've got to get this one out for you. Hang on, where's it gone? What does Hardie have against the Eagles? Every week he has a go at them. Every week. That's from Peter at Northampton.
Well, Peter, you need change, mate. And I'm sorry, I'm going to bang on to it until you get it. And I don't think it's too far away, Peter, because if you continue to do the same things, Pete, week in, week out, it's called lunacy. And, I think until they actually have that circuit breaker with a new coach and a new panel and whatever, you're not going to... There's just... The kids are going to get worn down. We know Harley Reid looks a beauty. Hoff's improving. There's a few other green shoots around the place, but they're not learning enough and not quickly enough, Marty, to be competitive anytime soon.
Okay, I've got a minute to talk about the Dockers. Go 3-0. They beat Adelaide 69-34.
Yeah, there was a workmanlike. It was a horrible game, wasn't it? Skill errors were aplenty for both sides, particularly in the first 3 quarters. Eventually, Fremantle pulled away from them. Adelaide have got a lot of problems. And Fremantle got themselves now. People won't care. They're 3-0 in round of 16 when they're in the 8. People are going to say, well, we don't care what happened in round 3. You don't want to be playing your best football yet, but they've still got a good margin for improvement, for sure.
And, of course, they now sit second on the ladder as it stands under GWS Giants, who are up the top. Sydney third, Melbourne fourth.
Well, how often do we see it? If you have a good start to your year, you're really competitive at the end of the year.
And it's complete reversal of what happened last year, Brad.
Correct. If you have a bad start, you're playing catch-up footy and the fine line becomes too fine for you to get home.
Enjoy the rest of Easter.
All the best, Marty. See you soon.
He's a ripper, Brad Hardie.